sustainability for a long time, right? And it touches all the aspects. And when you are now thinking of global market, right, these are expectations from country. If you want to export, if you want to go into these things, right, they want to make sure that you're a sustainable company in, and it's not just the products, right? It's your whole supply chain. They need to know that your company is also sustainable, right? So it is an advantage. And when you think about innovation, right, there's a what you are doing, Harry, what you're doing right now, there's innovation. And at the same time, when you marry that with sustainability, it's a great story for one thing, but it makes business sense, right? So I think that's where companies are also realizing it, and they don't just have to jump on the climate aspect. They can climb, they can leverage on many other aspects as well. And it's good. It's a bigger story. If you talk about the millennials that is joining the workforce right now, not the those born in the year 2000, they're very, the company they decide to join, they need to know the bigger picture of the company. They need to know how it is at the moment. They won't just join a company because they pay you well, but they also have to believe that it is actually a competitive advantage. If I have two companies offering me a great job, right, I will work with the one that's got a greater purpose, that's got a greater role, that's going to make an impact, right? So this is what's happening. And look at the signs of what's happening around the world. This is what's going to appeal to talent. It's going to appeal to business. It's going to appeal to everything. So I can show you all the research. You can read up on it, but it just makes business sense when you think about sustainability. Yeah.
Thank you, Frida. But just to update you a bit, just now we go live a bit later, so some of us we missed the first part. So I'm just gonna
Okay.
say hi to everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Green Factor with Frida Liu today. And we just have before we go live, we have a introduction. But today, what we're going to talk with Frida is thriving green businesses in Malaysia. And like you said before, it needs to make sense. So
Yes.
let's dive into one of the example of companies that you see, or you know they are doing something, and they are doing well, and how do they do it?
Okay. Plenty of examples ago. I've interviewed a lot of interesting ones. I wanted to interview, but my colleague beat me to it. But okay, I'll give you one example, right? When you also say green, right? And I think sometimes that also people don't understand when you talk about green. Like I said, is beyond climate, right? But climate has a big impact to what's happening. Now, I'll share another story, which has nothing to do with business, a little later on. But one company that I really work very, I admire a lot is called Batik Boutique, right? Batik Boutique is now, they're trying to revive the arts. What you call these people who are artisans, and they're usually from the B40 community, and they're mostly women, right? So I know they're a profitable social enterprise, right? They have deals, they have deals with a lot of corporations, and corporations now, I think they're also looking at tax incentives for corporations to buy from social enterprises, but they're profitable. And so the more profitable they are, the more they're helping the B40 community, right? So that is an issue, right? When we talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, one of which is 17, one is that no poverty, right? One of which is no poverty. So in that process of helping that business, they're profitable. They're also addressing the issue of no poverty. They're also addressing the issue of gender equality, sustainable communities, right? So we don't lose the art of batik making as well, right? So she's also doing a lot of these things, but at the same time, because you're doing one thing, you're also touching a lot of other factors in sustainability. So beyond green, I want to share this story because I'm also involved in World Vision, right? And World Vision, I'm an advocate there for clean water and sanitary hygiene. Okay, so this is an NGO, and you're thinking, okay, what's WASH? The acronym is WASH, right? So why is clean water important? So I've been involved in World Vision, sponsoring children for over 20 years. And I always feel that education is it helps everyone with the level playing field. Where I have had successes in life is because I've had an education. So when I sponsored a kid, I thought it was just about education. They said, but they have to help the whole village to be independent, right? And simple things like access to clean water. We turn on our tap, we have water. A lot of these communities, they have to travel to get water, to collect water. And it's usually the children that collect water. And sometimes it's more the girls, right? And when they collect water, it means they don't go to school. right? They don't go to school, and then if they drink from what do you call it, unclean water, they get cholera, and they can actually cholera, diarrhea, they can actually die from these things, right? So sometimes we take these things for granted when we talk about clean water. Just because you cannot turn on the tap in the morning, you're missing out on so many things in life, right? So that's just one, as that's an NGO that I'm part of. But when we talk about sustainability, a successful business, that was an example I gave you. And I know that they also, corporations then know that when they buy from, if you go to Magic's, this was set up by Magic, it's called buyforimpact.com, right? And a lot of social enterprises are there. So I would try to buy things from that place, knowing that whatever I buy, I'm helping a particular cause. I'm helping towards sustainable development goals, right? So I know that, but the quality of things have to be good, right? So just because we're going green and going that, it doesn't mean that you hold back, apa ni, you don't work on your innovation, you don't work on quality, right? Because if you don't have these factors, people will also won't buy from you. They'll buy what we call a pity purchase. They'll believe one time and they'll never come back to you, right? Like I bought your board, right? I love your board. It's good quality stuff, and I'm so proud it's Malaysian, right? That is my first point, right? That I would buy from as well, right? Support Malaysia, Malaysia Day, and all that. But it's got to be quality, right? And that's why I would buy from you, right? Knowing that uh, you also have a purpose behind what you're doing, and you're talking about sustainability. So I connect very well with your brand because you got a great story. Yeah. Okay.
I think touching on that point you mentioned before, I'm
Mm,
interested to explore more,
mm,
because like people only see sustainability as at nowadays, especially
mm,
business. They see sustainability as material. They see that in
right.
terms of, for us to make green product or go into sustainability, it's about installing solar panels, buying new machine, expensive material. Then that is considered sustainable. But we want people to see sustainability as something more than just that. When I start into the green business in 2012, I also have the same mindset, which is just it's about the material. But
Mm,
after 9 years, I've seen, like, I've done research and experienced a lot of different things. It's
mm.
more than just material. It's
It
the whole
is.
process. Like
Mm,
in my factory, it's the whole process. Like the where you source it, the material, the glue, the coating that you use, the packaging,
yes.
even the community and the stakeholders, the government, the community, the people who make youth development. So all these issues are sustainability issues, and
Mm,
people only see a small part of it. So
right.
I love that you mentioned that, like social enterprise. Right now, we are seeing a lot of social enterprise business model where they put the
Mm,
cost in the middle of the company instead of
mm,
just a CSR. Normally, large companies they do this, but it's considered a CSR. But social
right.
enterprise, they put the cost in the middle of the company, which is very interesting approach
Right.
to doing uh, social work, but in a
Yes.
business way.
Yes.
So,
And that's
hmm,
sustainable because you have to
correct,
run it
correct,
like a business, right? Because then you'll be a sustainable business as well,
correct,
right?
correct, correct. So, what are the we've looked into an example of social enterprise.
Right.
What are the companies that you can have a slightly different approach to sustainability that you have seen?
Okay, so I've plenty of examples, services, and all that, right? One of which, by the way, when you talk about sustainability as well, one of the things that you do is no wastage,
Correct.
right? I know you're trying to reduce waste, so that's one thing that's sustainable. I know that you're saying at the side of the board you actually use it to put make handphone holders and all that. So these are all things that we have to be sure that we're not wasting. I'll give you many examples. Okay, one of which is there's this company called Discover Muay Thai. I don't know if you heard of them, right? And I don't know how they're doing right now because I haven't spoken to the Imran for a while. But Imran, so all these boys that were actually mat rempits, whatever, he was training them to be Muay Thai trainers. And so they are then able to earn a living as Muay Thai trainers and teaching, giving classes, and so he was trying to uplift their livelihood. So that is part of sustainable cities communities, addressing the issue with no poverty and that kind of thing, because they get in trouble because it's like they don't have an outlet, they don't know how to earn a living. So that's an example of a wonderful service that's about helping communities. But then you also you don't give a fish. You don't want to be an NGO. Nothing wrong with that, but you don't want it to be charity. You want them to be able to learn how to fish and earn a living, right? So I would like to find out how he's doing, because obviously I don't think there were any classes because of the MCO. The other one that's very interesting is a Gray's Market. So Gray's Market, okay, this is some facts. You'll be very surprised about Malaysians. 15,000 tons of food goes to waste on a daily basis. And that's enough to feed 12 million Malaysians 3 times a day. Okay, a day.
What?
Yeah, okay, right?
What?
Yes, 2,700 per household of 5 people is wasted every year on food. 2,700. So that's a lot of waste. Okay, among the waste in Malaysia, food is the highest waste thrown at 44.5%, followed by plastic at 19%. Okay, so we are a very so when we talk about responsible consumption and production, right? And this is also, I know, like one of your SDGs as well, in terms of how you produce things, is SDG 12, right? So so what this company does then is that they actually work directly with farmers, and they call it grade B and grade C vegetables, because when we go beli sayur, we tend to pick the nice looking ones. The one that looks funny, actually the vegetable is still fine, right? But human instinct, it's got to be
Correct,
shaped
correct.
nicely, right? But actually it's still fine, right? So and then what happens is that then these farmers end up sometimes throwing it away, right? They end up throwing away, but they would buy this, and then so there's, I think they're in Sunway, where you can buy these vegetables. So they're a little bit cheaper, but the vegetables are just as good. Some that's about to die, they make them into sauces, right? So then you can buy the sauce as well. So are we responsible in our consumption, right? I think also what has happened with this pandemic, we realize that we are very wasteful, and there are lots of people who are starving. But imagine the amount that's wasted, right, which could have been used to feed the Malaysians, right? So that's one example of how we can actually be supportive. The other one that's very interesting is water tree project. Water tree project, we always think of, like when we buy our water, why must we buy our water in plastic bottles, right? 'Cause we know that's not so environmentally friendly. So they pack water in Tetra packs, and the cover sugar is sugar cane, what, so everything is
Okay.
biodegradable, right? So it's like
Hmm.
a mindset change, right? You can still get your water, but you buy a bottle, not a bottled water, uh, uh, water in Tetra packs rather than in bottled water. So this is innovation, and then it's also how we are a little bit more environmentally friendly, right? So these are the ways that we can be interesting. The other one, which is also environmental, is like how agriculture is important. But a lot of people don't want to go to agriculture because they think it's not modern. They think it can be very expensive. So there is this company called Fee 5 4, and they're a co-working space for farmers. So what happens? They plot out they rent out the land, but then the equipment can be shared, so you don't have to spend on buying equipment, right? And then so they call them agripreneurs. So there's new, and then of course if there's technology involved in doing this, then people will think about, okay, there it is a lucrative way of earning money, right? So there are many interesting ones that have sort of come up as well, and we're addressing different parts, right? So like even
Hmm.
people like Picture Eats, right? They work with refugees, and this is an important part of our community, like it or not, right? And they are in Malaysia and they can't work, right? And if they try to earn an income, they get in trouble. So what they have done is they're able to then come up with a solution of getting them to cook in their own kitchen, making sure that they're clean and all that, and then able to sell their food, right? So and they will, and of course even with the MCO, every business face challenges now. Yeah.
So interesting take on
Mm,
sustainability.
right.
It's a simple topic, but a
Right.
lot of people approach it in a different way.
Mm.
So we have Jonah saying hi, Hari Sai Frida,
Hi.
uh,
Happy Malaysia
a-
Day.
and Marisa also saying hi. Okay, so let's go to the next question.
Mm,
So these companies, they are doing well. At least it's proven that the concept work.
mm,
However, does doing all the social or an environment operation
Mm.
is costing them more, or how do you see the in term they injecting it in the company? Does it give more problem to them? Of course, they are buying, people
Yes,
buying,
yes.
but in terms of
Yeah.
the operation wise and all that, do you have any thoughts on that?
Okay. Are they costing them more? Um, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think whether, okay, when I look, I'll give you the batik boutique example, right? It's so
Hmm.
easy, right? To just to start another company, just to start a company and get it manufactured, lah, right? And you don't use the artisans, right? But I think the story, okay, we have to get better at storytelling, right? The story of
Hmm.
why I buy from them. Okay, I have it in front of me. Okay, right? The story of why I would buy something like this that's from Batik Boutique is because, you're saying that when you buy a shirt that's manufactured, it's the machine making it. But so if I buy something like this and it's the same quality as I would buy outside, I know that I'm helping the shirt. I'm helping 7 families, right? So we have to get better at storytelling, right? And we've got great stories, so I would see it as a competitive advantage for sure, right? I will connect better to a brand that has a better story, right? I will know that if I'm spending my money, I'm helping someone. So I prefer that story. So it is, if we are able to tell the story better, it is a competitive advantage, right? I mean, for example, with Batik Boutique, she said, why can't, she said, I want to make known globally. Like when you think about Thailand, right? Everybody knows Jim Thompson, right? For Thai silk, right? Okay, and they're not environmentally, well, maybe they are moving that direction. I don't know. But like, why can't we have these great stories about Malaysians? And then at the same time, there's still handicraft that they're made personally. So we got to get better at that, right? So, I mean, if you think about, um, why would you buy a Patek Philippe watch? They were personally made and everything was done in a factory. It wasn't, it was like a craftsman was involved in the making of it, right? And you would pay a lot of money because you know that, right? Or you buy how many Rolls Royce do you need to sell in a year? Five lah. In Malaysia, maybe five is enough to make money, but how many people was involved in the process of making it, right? But that's Rolls Royce, right? But so if we can get better at the storytelling and know that we're actually supporting these businesses, why not, right? Mm. Oh, another interesting one. Another interesting story is our dependence on no on food supply. So there are a couple of companies right now that are trying to look into vertical farming, right, in buildings and all that, right? So by buying from, if you just check out, there's a few out there. If you don't, and I'm not killing Cameron Highlands along the way, but if you buy from vegetables nearby, you're also saving on carbon, because the distance of travel of bringing the vegetables
Correct,
all the
correct.
way from Cameron, as opposed to getting your vegetables that is grown in the city, you also, right? So, but we have to get good at the story, what we are buying into. Yeah.
Hmm. Correct, correct. So, hi Daniel, Frida,
Hi,
Daniel
Daniel.
saying hi. I love what you're saying about this the story,
Mm,
because like I have a lot of friends who are in the green business,
right,
doing green business, but they're saying that Malaysia is not ready for green products, meaning like it's not good business for them. But I always tell them like it's doing well for me. So that is one.
right,
So
right.
it's not a blanket statement. And number two is in Malaysia is it's not really, people won't buy just because it's sustainable. So
Right.
people have this perception, especially like new entrepreneurs. They think that if my product is green,
Mm,
people who like green will buy it. So it doesn't work like that. It's like
no.
any business. It needs
Right.
to make sense. It needs to give
Yes.
value. It needs
Yes.
to be able to have other things. So like for me, I use design with sustainability. So
Mm,
it a more added value. People would buy your product just because it's sustainable. So you have to
mm,
have other things, and also people need to see social enterprise as same as business, meaning like
yes.
you still have to have all those competitive advantage, but you
Yes.
have other things to think about on top of it. So traditional business, let's say you need to think about 10,000 things that is happening, but for social entrepreneurs or new way of looking things, you need to think about like 20,000 things. So
Right.
it's slightly more difficult, but it still acts as a business. So people need
Right.
stop seeing it as a NGO where people will support because of the cause. Your product needs
Right.
to be good, your branding is
Yes.
good, your design needs to be good. And when the story, that is what I've been using, and
Mm.
it's part of branding actually. So if you
Yes.
brand it well and use it in a way that is relevant, then
Mm.
you will get that. So that's why let's dive deeper on the storytelling, because I feel like a
Right.
lot of entrepreneurs, not just ESG companies, even
Mm.
the non ESG companies also
Mm.
have problem with stories. So how do you see this company approaching storytelling?
Okay, so okay, to me, I've interviewed some companies recently, and of course they've got some solution that is very good for the environment, and they're usually scientists. Right, that's and then so that and I'm trying to break it down into a language that I understand, right? So for example, like that's why you have maybe you have to hire experts, right, to get the story understood by people, right, to get people. And okay, by doing this we are helping, like for example I shared those figures to you about the vegetables and all that, right? So I got those stats from the Grace Market website, right? I was like, wow, I didn't know that, right? So now I'm very conscious that when I buy my vegetables, I try to buy from them, or that kind of thing, right? Because I didn't know about that. So sometimes you have to bring to light what is the situation that people want, and people connect better with your brand. And you're right, it's not just because you're sustainable. It's any business, right? It's part of marketing, it's part of branding what you believe in, right? What I believe in, like I talk about sustainability, I believe in it, right? And that is part of my branding, right? But I have to be able to tell the story why I believe it, right? So it doesn't take, sometimes you have to realize, am I able to do this? If not, hire someone that can help you with branding, getting it simplified, because sometimes we get so caught in our, the technicality of it, we forget to tell the story to the person, right? Why would I buy from you? You know? Mm.
Yeah, so if you can't do it, then get someone else to do it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because it's not just about stories. Like anybody can make stories, but what is marketable is something that has value. Either have
Mm,
value and have that wow factor. So
mm,
because it's part of branding,
mm.
and I feel like Malaysian in general, we still trying to see how to use stories. But if you
Yeah,
see in the Western countries, it's everything about
there's
that. People buy
exactly.
because of the story, right?
Right. Okay.
So,
I mean,
hmm,
just take this. Okay. For example, Kickstarter, or
hmm,
whatever. Right. So these are they are selling the story to get your money, right? Because the product is not even there yet. But they're selling the story so that you will
correct. The
invest in
product
it,
is not even
right?
there.
Yeah, right. And you're willing to but what is the thing that's so unique? Because they've been selling the story. And there's a bag I want to buy because it's perfect for females. Well, they sold me the story that is very good for females, right? And then I'm thinking, I should I buy this? Should I buy this? Right? And so with their money only you can start. So if you understand, this is where we lack the ability to tell our stories. And maybe it's a bit like segan lah. I don't want to masuk bakul angkat sendiri. We got to get past that, right? If we've got a greater purpose, we have to share the story of what it is that we're doing, right? So when I was reading a story, I was so fascinated. I was like, wow, this is, and I would firstly support a Malaysian company, right? But the product has to be good. But I will support local first, right? Before I look at overseas. But if there's nothing available overseas, then Malaysia, then I would look at a foreign brand. But if there's something that's available in the country and it's got a great story, I will support, right?
Correct, correct, correct. So, Ronald, happy Malaysia Day to you.
Mm,
Azmat, great discussion. So yeah,
right.
I feel like this is one of the things that it just makes sense. So that's why
Yes.
why I love sustainability is it makes sense. Like for
Mm,
example, like how we look into sustainability in term, if you look at into competitive advantage. So
mm,
efficiency is part of sustainability. Worker happiness is part of
yes.
sustainability. Mental health is part of sustainability. Culture preservation is part of sustainability. So there's all this element that if you put it correctly, it can
Mm,
bring benefit to you. For example, like when I moved to the new factory, I wanted the factory to be a
clean.
concept factory, Clean
Yeah,
is
yeah,
one, a concept
yeah.
factory. So we want more local youth to be part of the organization. Normally in
Right.
my industry, the industry rely too much on foreign labor. There's nothing
Mm,
wrong with it. But for
mm,
me, I feel like I want to have more local people coming in. And now we 90% of our staff are local and 80% of our staff are youth below 35, which is
right,
unheard of in the industry where you get
right,
youth coming into the industry. But if
right.
you do it well
Mm,
and in a way that it's beneficial for all of us, so
right.
it attracts, it gives other benefits aside from monetary. Monetary
Yeah.
is one thing, but the
Mm,
image, the employment and all that, so that is
right.
an additional thing that we need to see as a business.
You
So
made it cool. You made it cool.
correct, correct. So but we don't want people to jump into the bandwagon, meaning
Right.
like just because it's in now, so everyone
Mm,
wants to do it. But you do it in a way it's a half-hearted, or what you call it, a greenwashing. You do just
mm,
a very small part of it, and then you say
mm,
that you're sustainable, right? Which
mm.
been happening a lot. So that's
Right.
why for me, we founded Green Design Malaysia. So this
Mm,
is a community in Facebook where we
mm,
talk about these kind of issues. So we have around 1,300 members,
mm.
consists of business people, designers, students, and also researchers, where we talk about all these issues because there's so many elements of sustainability that hasn't been explored,
Right.
especially in the local context.
Right.
So that's why this show is being done to get this more clarification, because
Right.
we normally when we talk about sustainability, it's always like the Western
Mm,
stories, the Western
mm.
companies. So we cannot have that, not say empathy, but relationship with them.
Right.
So if it's a local story, then oh okay, they can do it here in Malaysia. Why cannot I do it?
Right.
So
And
that's why.
it's you see, it's not just that as well, right? I mean, if you think about even Indonesia, right, just been pushing their batik, right? And like you have to wear batik, I don't know what it's with definitely with the civil servants. But then that's also preserving the culture, right? And when you like who wins the batik story? Indonesia wins the batik story, right? Because they talk a lot more. If you think about excellent products that is marketable around the world but is so distinctive, is Thailand,
Correct, correct.
right? So I mean, forget about but good at coming out with products, but like distinctively Thai, but yet of global standards, right? So this is where if we don't move, we have to move up the value chain. We cannot always be thinking about are we the cheapest, because that is not going to we're a small population. We can't even talk about volume, right? We don't have the power of volume. So this is 30 million. So how do we have to stand out? We've got to move up the value chain in terms of what we offer, and companies will only want to start working if you want to talk about the export market. They want to make sure that you adhere to certain principles, certain standards, certain kind of things before your products can be sold on a global basis. So if you want to think global, it cannot be on the price factor. Because another country will be cheaper, and that is going to be the case. So it was Vietnam. Vietnam is not the cheapest. They move on to somewhere else. So you cannot play on the price game, right? That's not going to last you for the long term. Yeah.
I love that you talk about that because this is what been happening in the furniture industry.
Mm,
Our industry, wood industry, is one of the best in the world. Malaysia
mm,
is top 10 manufacturer of furniture for the world. Malaysia
mm,
exported to more than 160 countries.
mm.
But our main way the industry operate is OEM. So
Right.
you make large scale and very little margin. So
Yes.
there's no room for innovation. You have to cut costs wherever you can. So
Right.
workers' safety and all that might
Yeah.
be forsaken and all that.
Right.
So that's why when I wanted to grow the business, I want to move it in a different way. I don't want to have a large factory and
Mm,
do so many things. And margin is only a little bit, and then I cannot
right.
be creative, cannot do other things. So that is why right now Malaysia we are having problem in terms of competing. It used to be about price. I mean, like we are good in
Mm,
terms of price, but now
mm,
Vietnam has gone up. Exactly what you
right.
say, because there's a lot of
Mm,
investment going there, and a lot of companies are moving the operation there because it's cheaper. So if
right.
we keep on using price as a
Cost. Yeah.
competitive advantage, it's going to be difficult for us in the future. Now it
Mm.
might still be okay, but eventually, so that's why right now the government wants to use design as a
Yes.
competitive advantage. So they are pushing for that. However, I see this might be a problem because if you look at Southeast Asia, there's so many other countries that is better than us in terms of design. Not to say
Mm.
that our designers are bad.
Mm.
Our design
Mm.
might be at par or better than them, but they have one government support. The government spend a lot of money getting them exposure,
Mm.
supporting the cause and all that. And then
Mm.
industry support them. They use the local designers and all that, so they can make money and they can continue with their craft. Um,
Mm.
but so countries like Thailand, like Indonesia, like even Vietnam as well, they are looking to creative and so all these countries are already way ahead of us in terms of using design, and
Right.
we just want to start. So
Mm.
and our government is not there's not much support in terms of
Right.
designers, and our local manufacturers they would want to work with international designer, Italian designer, or Japanese, and they are
Mm.
not utilizing our own talent. So so how can the industry go and how can we compete in terms of international? So that is why I've been pushing for using design and sustainability, because in
Right.
Southeast Asia no country is actually championing it yet. So we
Right.
have the opportunity to have the first step so that
Mm.
um, we become the sourcing hub for product and
Yeah.
green products and green design for Southeast Asia, so that
Right.
when the wave comes in 1 or 2 years, they're going to come to this part of the world. We are when everyone wants to start doing it, we already one step, so we can take the other
Right.
step. So we can continue to lead the sustainability and design agenda in South Asia. And that is
Agree.
why we need a lot of buy-ins from different
Mm.
people, from businesses, from designer, from the community, so that we can together. It's not just about the wood industry. It's not just
Right.
about the furniture industry. It's about everything.
Yes.
So all
Everything.
the other industries. So Malaysia can use sustainability as its competitive advantage. So that is why I founded Green Design Malaysia, is so that we can expedite this. But the issue is we
Right.
need to do it now because other
Yes.
countries are also
Yes.
talking about it, right?
a- and I have to say, like, kudos to you for doing this, right? For being an advocate for this and for having that conversation. And that is the part of the brand building. That's part of the storytelling, right? That we have to do this, and you know it's gonna be the long road, lah, right? You have to start doing this now, talking, and hopefully more people will jump on the bandwagon, understand that sustainability is sexy. Right, it is sexy, all right, and it is profitable. That's what's going to be happening, uh, and everybody has to slowly come on. But you're right, we have to get all the parties involved, and I think it starts from the consumer as well, right? That you know where you're putting your money. I mean, it's all part of branding, right? Why do people buy Nike shoes compared to Powers? Branding, right? It's the marketing behind it, right? I don't buy Nike, but you know what I mean. But so what? Why is that the case, right? Is it better? I don't. Is Nike better than, I don't know, Power? But they spend a lot of money on marketing and sharing their story. Just do it. The whole campaign around just do it, and that takes time. That is in our head. Just do it, right? So this is the thing that we have to start talking about right now. And I tell you, really, Malaysia has a lot of talent, but if we don't take care of it, right, we're slowly losing it. So we have to take care of it, the artisans and all that. But at the same time, moving forward, that's going to be our competitive advantage, right? So kudos to you for doing this, and hopefully people will realize. Otherwise, we don't have the advantage of a big country, you know. So what else is going to be our advantage, right? We've got to think of how we have to be ahead of the game compared to people like Thailand and Indonesia that's been pushing it. Thailand, I'll give you another example of Thailand, what they've done. You can find Thai restaurants around the world, but people will think of Thai food as something to Malay go overseas, right? A lot of these Thai restaurants, the ingredients are sent to all these restaurants around the world. I believe, I don't know if they still do it now, but a couple of years ago, Thailand was doing it for free because they understand then if the Thai restaurants have easy access to the ingredients, it means their branding through restaurants around the world means that people want to go to Thailand and visit Thailand, right? So this is as how important when you talk about government supporting, right? So yes, we love our Malaysian food, but why is it that you can find Thai food all over the world, right? And people would say Thai food as opposed to Malaysian
Correct,
food,
correct, 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 correct.
right?
So yeah, so that is a good way to end the conversation, because
Mm,
I feel like a lot of people think too much about it, but
yeah.
actually it's like what you say, we just have to do it. You don't have
Mm,
to do big or grand things. It can
mm,
be very small things. Like even
mm,
for businesses, when I talk to businesses, because I do a lot of consultation now for businesses, for them to do sustainability, I start with, I don't want to touch your product yet. Maybe what you can do is do something simple, like
mm,
go towards paperless. So it's
yeah,
cheaper for the company, you save money. And the
yeah,
second one, maybe look at your waste. How can you monetize your waste?
yes,
So that you do all these small things, but and then you see the benefit in terms of monetary. Then you can
mm,
do other things as well.
mm,
So we need to start somewhere, and we need to start now.
mm.
So thank you again, Frida, for your time today. I know
It's a pleasure.
we can talk
Yeah,
like forever,
we
but
did. We
uh,
yeah.
but
I
yeah.
love the work you're doing.
Oh,
Wait, I have
thank
to
you,
show
thank
them. I
you.
have to show them the board. Wait, no, wait, where is it? Wait, it's
So Frida recently bought a product for me, so I'm very thankful
I
lah.
I don't know where I don't know where my helper put it. Okay, but anyway, it's around. But it's so this is like I love it because it's Malaysian, right? And it's good quality and I want to support whatever, Malaysia Day and all that, right? But we have great
Sure.
products. I'd be on the lookout for things that are of good quality and buy Malaysia first, right? That's important.
Correct, correct. Buy local first.
Yeah,
So, Frida, thank you again for contributing to the conversation. We hope to have more sessions with you if you're open with it.
sure.
And and for everyone else, thank you for tuning in and have a green week ahead. Bye
Right.
bye.
Happy World Ozone Day. Happy Malaysia Day. Bye
Yes,
bye.
yes. Bye bye.